Hello, welcome back to another stream from Tachyon Lance. In this episode, we're going to be having a look at some ship combinations versus stations. Because in what my videos over the last few days have shown, if you saw my video yesterday, we were testing frigates and cruisers against a station towards the end, the cruisers, torpedo cruisers, got absolutely obliterated. And in my testing today in the video with frigates against the battleships, we saw that the Devastator torpedoes, and I'll put up a screenshot here now so you can see, in just their very first volley from half their fleet, because half their fleet got destroyed, when it unloaded their first volley, it did, I think from memory, 26,000 damage at 100% efficiency in just their first volley. And that would be because of the multiplicative damage that torpedoes do against larger ships. So what got me thinking was that yesterday when I sent 40 cruisers in with 3 times the amount of torpedoes per ship, 40 cruisers has 120 torpedoes, whereas this fleet of frigates that I used against the battleships only had 60 torpedoes. So what got me thinking is, do the torpedoes' multiplicative effect work against stations? Because I don't think they do, or defense platforms. If that's the case, that could make stations extremely defensible. The only weapons which may help with that is the artillery and perhaps missiles. Missiles might be a really good combination to use against stations now instead of torpedoes. So we'll do a few tests with a few fleets and we'll see what happens. So first of all, I'm going to use a Corvette fleet. I'll just move it into position. Okay, now this frigate is the standard frigate we've been using with the Devastator torpedoes, and it's got some missiles there as well. The station is just a station, no defense platforms, because I want to see how the station performs. Mix of guns, torpedoes, hangars, and it's got a supercomputer, uplink computer, communication jammer, disruption field. So let's have a look at what this gets. So we've got the lasers, we've got swarmer missiles, we've got torpedoes, and 2 hangar bays. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Not the most advanced weapons either in comparison to the Corvette fleet. Main thing is I want to have a look at the damage that these corvettes, their frigates will do with their torpedoes. Okay, let's test this out.
Station engaged. Alert. Mining station
Swarmer missiles going in. Another bucket of mining station. Okay, so here we go. So what damage have we done? So torpedoes, UV lasers, the swarmer missiles, strike craft. So we've got the Marauder missiles. Marauder missiles have done the most damage to armor, which is, I guess you'd probably expect it. Nothing of torpedo damage yet. Are they? Is that the torpedo? That's the torpedoes going in now, isn't it? Now we'll have a look. No, not the torpedoes yet. They're not closing in. Devastator torpedoes. There we go. So they've unloaded a volley there. 15,293. They haven't managed to get through to the hull yet because we've still got the armor up. There we go, another wave of Devastator torpedoes coming in. But the station is still holding good. We're not losing as many frigates as I thought we would. There's just so much armor for the frigates to get through. So So we've done 15,000 damage. So what this shows, in comparison to the picture I showed you a few minutes ago, in one volley from, it was about 30 frigates, did 26,000 damage, or around that, from devastator torpedoes to battleships. Now, more frigates here, we've got 46 there, and there was a few more a few minutes ago, have done 10,000 less damage than what the frigates did to the battleships. So to me, that shows that the multiplicative effect is not being applied to stations. And I'm just wondering if that's an error, or if Paradox are actually wanting that to happen. Because if that's the case, either the other weapons, hopefully missiles and artillery, are going to be quite effective against stations, or we may have a problem. Because you imagine early game, if the torpedoes aren't that effective, the missiles are not very powerful that early, and you get a station and a star hold with a bunch of defense platforms around it, having to use frigates and other smaller ships that we have to do now to screen the fleet against other fleets using torpedoes against them. So you've got a lot of these smaller ships in your fleet now compared to what you had last time, say with previous versions prior to 3.6, of lots of battleships and cruisers and titans and hardly any smaller ships. The smaller ships will be much easier for the station to destroy, making your fleet smaller in firepower overall. So I'm just wondering if this is going to be an issue, if the stations now will be significantly more powerful. And these stats seem to show that it is. We'll just see how this battle plays out for a bit longer. See, the Marauder missiles are doing quite well. Devastator torpedoes, 150% efficient. Anti-strike craft, 150% efficient against them. So why are those Marauder missiles doing so well? Because they've got the shield penetration. 100% shield penetration, 50% hull damage. So yeah, damage to armor, damage to hull, so we haven't broken through the armor yet, so that's why they can't damage the hull yet. So they haven't been able to use their efficiency on the hull. They're using their efficiency going straight through the shields and damaging the armor, but they can't get to the hull just yet. And the Devastator torpedoes are just not doing that much damage. Just too much armor. Let's speed this up for a bit. Losing our frigates. So the Devastator torpedoes, 100% shield penetration, so they're still hitting the armor, but they're just not doing that much damage. Not enough damage. I think the missiles, look at the damage from the Marauder missiles. They're doing far more damage than the Devastator torpedoes.
Alert. Fleet unit offline.
So I think my suspicions were right. The damage, the multiplicative damage, is not being done to a station. And so you think, well, a station's much bigger than a battleship, so why does torpedo damage not apply to the station? Maybe it shouldn't apply to the defense platforms. That should just be, say, normal. But the station itself, I think torpedo damage should apply to. It's a massive target. You know, it's a big chunk of metal sitting in space. You'd think the torpedoes would have the multiplicative damage towards the station itself. So look at that. We've only done half the armor. Haven't even scratched the hull. And that was 60 torpedo frigates. Okay, so this time we've got our standard 10 battleships we've been using against the frigates, which the frigates have done a pretty good job against in the past with their damage. And you saw in the screenshot and in my previous videos that the amount of damage frigates did against battleships was huge. But sure, the frigates didn't do that much damage against the station. We took out about half their armor, 60 frigates, in the battle and lost everything. So now we'll see how these battleships go. I'm predicting that their artillery and giga cannons should be very effective against the station. But just for comparison.
Hostile stationary asset engaged.
Yeah, you can already see giga cannons doing more damage than those Devastator torpedoes ever did. Kinetic artillery taking out most of the shields. Those giga cannons getting through the shields as well. Yeah, you can see we're chomping through their armor. How are the fleet holding up? Yep, still holding up. Yeah, you can see the armor, shields is just can't do enough damage. So I think we can see the result here. Just look at the massive amounts of damage this is doing compared to what those Devastator torpedoes did. Yeah, it's all over. We did lose 3 battleships compared to losing 60 frigates. So that just shows your artillery is far more effective against the station than what the torpedoes are, which my mind boggles a little bit at that. I think Paradox need to tweak that a bit. Okay, I'll do my next test. Okay, for this test we've got our energy torpedoes and neutron launchers. So they do less damage against the shields, so we'll see if we struggle to get through the shields or not. The Marauder missiles that we saw last time, they should do a fair bit of damage. But we'll see how this goes and firing at the longer range compared to trying to close the range. So they're firing now. Much better, the torpedo damage. Let's see. Oh, look at the damage we're doing with the neutrons. Heaps higher than the Devastators. Look at that, we're whittling away the armor. We've smashed the shields and the armor already. Now we're into the hull. We will be shortly. There we go, now we're into the hull. We only lost 7 frigates. Look at that, we are creaming this station. That was unexpected. I didn't think it would be that effective. So, perhaps we found a bug. Because that damage was just insane that we were doing to that station from these neutron launchers. So I'm wondering if the neutron launchers are applying the multiplicative damage, but the Devastator torpedoes are not. Because that damage was just off the scale. We obliterated that station in seconds and only lost 13. Yet the Devastator torpedoes struggled to do over 20,000 damage, and we did 100,000 plus damage in armor and hull in a fraction of the time. That seems very strange. Very strange, considering this fleet had a third of the firepower of that station. Alright, so I'm going to do another test. I might do a test with cruisers this time, because yesterday I used 40 cruisers with Devastator torpedoes, and they got their butts handed to them. And I'll upgrade the we'll upgrade the platforms, put all the platform defenses on. So I'll set that up. We'll see how we go. Okay, so now what we've got our 40 cruisers with our energy torpedoes, missiles. We've got our defense station, our Citadel with lots of defense stations. We've got, I'll show you the ship design. We've got 10 with artillery. We've got 8 with torpedoes, and we've got 10 with hangars. So that's designed to say, well, we're looking to counter a balanced fleet, roughly, small ships, large ships, and we'll see how it goes. If you know your enemy's got lots of big ships, you just build torpedoes energy torpedoes. So we'll see if these cruisers get absolutely obliterated. I'm expecting that they will, because there is a lot of energy torpedoes here, so we'll see what happens. The cruisers even make it into gun range. Here we go. Swarm of missiles coming in. Torpedoes coming in.
Alert. Military station deconstructed.
Each one launches
Alert.
doing a lot of damage.
Military station deconstructed. Alert. Military station deconstructed. Alert. Military station deconstructed. Alert. Military station deconstructed.
They're just not doing enough damage. The strike craft are doing more damage than anything else. Against the armor anyway. Look at that. Most of their fleet's still there. Very interesting. Okay, I won't test the Devastator torpedoes again, because we knew that was a failure yesterday. That was the energy torpedoes. They did better. Alright, now let's see if we can try something else. Okay, now we've got our standard battleships, a full fleet of 20. They're the kinetic artillery standard design. We'll see if these guys do a lot better. I'm suspecting they'll do a lot better. I'm not sure how good they'll do. A lot of firepower and hull points there, so they should do pretty good. Let's find out. Giga cannon doing a lot of damage. Lost 3 battleships already. Through their shields. Battleships lost half their number, but they've taken out the defense platform and they're into the station, so they should be able to finish the job. Yeah, Giga cannon and kinetic artillery just doing all the damage. Yeah, across all 3 sectors, so they've lost 11 battleships. Still a costly battle. 11 battleships lost for 1 station, 12 battleships. Which could still take out more, yeah. There's strike craft are peppering away out there. Okay, so you can see even with kinetic battleships, losing 12 battleships, that's, yeah, it's like we just lost 55% of our fleet. They lost the station, but we're in no position to really push on now. So stations seem to be pretty powerful now, and that was using, I was using hangars, artillery and torpedoes. So if you use, say, all artillery or or torpedoes, let's try one of torpedoes. Let's see if torpedoes have the multiplicative effect in reverse against battleships from a platform. Okay, so for this battle we've got our battleships again, 20 battleships, but this time I've got 28 platforms with torpedoes, and the platforms does say this weapon deals additional multiplicative damage based on 100% of the target ship size. So if you follow that text, we should be doing a fair bit of damage to those battleships from these platforms. Let's find out. battleships. 7, 8, half their fleet. Twelve, 13. Neutron launchers doing a lot of damage. They've really taken out a lot of platforms though. They've lost 3/4 of their fleet though. Yeah. So most of the neutron launchers are gone now, but this station should clean up the last 2 battleships. So I think it was pretty clear from that example that the defense platforms are doing multiplicative damage to those battleships. They got damaged far harder than using all the artillery strike craft from the previous test. Okay, so let's have a look here. So that was 28 defense platforms. I think we've lost all of them. Yeah, we've lost all of them. And the station is, well, barely scratched really. Lost a bit of shields, a bit of armor. Okay, so those stations cost 823 alloys. So what's that? That's what, 8, 16, 24, let's say 24,000 alloys probably. The battleships cost 1,700 for 20 of them. So, well, that's that's 17, 34, yeah. So that's a fair few more alloys you've lost in that engagement, and you didn't win it. That they still hold the station and the sector if that was a key battle. Plus, this is not as powerful as stations can get. Obviously, with the unyielding tradition, if we select unyielding, we can do supremacy as well. Chuck in all this stuff. Yeah, I guess damage to star bases will help the ships. Do unyielding. Defense platform cap 50%. Because I think you can get up to, is it 55? I think it's around 55 defense platforms when you have unyielding and all the other benefits. So starbase. So imagine that with twice that amount of. So in conclusion, it would appear that defense platforms do get the multiplicative damage when they fire torpedoes at larger ships such as battleships, cruisers, and larger. It doesn't appear that's true in reverse when battleships or torpedoes, ships, torpedo cruisers, torpedo frigates are firing at defense platforms and station. They don't appear to be getting the same amount of multiplicative damage to them. So stations can be very strong on the defense against these fleets, because we're now dealing with your fleets have a lot smaller ships. You've got frigates, you've got screening ships, you've got more destroyers and PD and all this type of stuff. If that's the way you're playing, trying to counter the AI fleets and combinations. So the only way to really get around this, you might have to build dedicated fleet busting, station busting fleets. Say lots of battleships with artillery. Well, you've just seen here that 20 odd battleships is nothing for a station, even though they had more firepower than them. So you're going to need, judging by that result, maybe 3 fleets of battleships, and you could expect to take still large losses. You're probably going to lose a third of your fleet, maybe half, and you'll destroy that station. So something seems a bit off, in my opinion. I think that could be an error that Paradox might need to fix. I wouldn't say it need to fix it against the defense platforms, because they don't have a great deal of hull and shields themselves. So more against the station itself, I would think you should be able to do torpedo damage to the station. Otherwise, like we saw in the first video, frigates are just flying around, firing, and they're barely scratching the station. 60 frigates. You could send in 160. I don't think the result's going to change that much. So, yeah, I think something's a little bit off there. Or this is the way Paradox want it, and they want stations to be really strong, and you're going to have to come up with different combinations of fleets to try and beat it. But let's say you send in a station-busting fleet, lots of battleships, cruisers, but then your enemy comes in with a couple of his own fleets, and he's got a well-balanced fleet of frigates and torpedo cruisers and destroyers and everything else, and you're fighting the station and those fleets, and you're going to get wasted. So it's quite a difficult scenario when you think about it. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's the way this is intended, or if it's still a bit buggy and needs to be fixed. So you guys decide, give me some comments, what you think. If you think there's a combination might work, maybe carrier battleships might work really, really well. Who knows? But stations on the defense seem to be very strong. They just wiped that battleship fleet in seconds. They didn't even... The battleship fleet was out here. It didn't even make it. Didn't even make it to the first ring. I think it got obliterated about here. So that's some sheer firepower. So that just shows the multiplicity of damage is being done to the battleships. But when the frigates came in and the cruisers with their torpedo, the damage wasn't being applied to the station. So if you like this video, hit that like button, and I'll keep doing testing and finding out these bugs, and well, if this is the way it's intended, so you guys know what you need to do. So hit that like button, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.